And we are live. So, welcome everyone to the Blak Mild podcast. I'm your host, Reginald. And joining me today is Laura. So, Laura, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Good, good. I'm doing well. Doing well. So, I'm really great to have you here. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just, set the groundwork for a lot of the newcomers who may be here. So first and foremost, if you are new, first of all, if you're returning and you've been watching this, really appreciate that. If you are new to this channel, if this is your first time watching this show, or if you're just new to like OP and you're still kind of confused as to what's going on, I'll just kind of let you know what's up. So my goal with this channel is really to have really enjoyable and meaningful conversations, like really for myself. Now, with that being said, a lot of the people that I've been talking to, actually, all the people that I've been talking to so far on the show have been from the objective personality community. So, if you have no idea what that is, objective personality is essentially a personality system that is attempting to make the Myers-Briggs typology indicator more objective. That's where they get their name from. The way they're doing that is they're doing what's called double blind testing, where they'll take two people, put them in separate rooms, and see if they can get the same personality type, for any given individual consistently over time. And once they get statistically significant results, then they'll start passing that information along to the scientific community, having conversations around that. And their goal is to start, transitioning this out to AI, machine learning, genetics, those type of things. So as of right now, objective personality is in beta. It does not explain anything as of right now, but a lot of their frameworks and insights have been really helpful to a lot of people. So, if this is something that we're going to be using a lot of that terminology here. So, if as you're going through, you're confused as to what's going on, I did make sure to put some links in the description below. I'm actually also going to add pretty soon not only some videos from the founders as well as a playlist that I've curated for you. I've also am going to include some text articles if you guys prefer reading, so that'll get you guys familiarized. So just feel free, and then if you have questions about the terminology, feel free to leave a comment in the chat or in the comment section. Second major order of business, there is a live chat. Now, my priority is to stay very zoned in with Laura and have a really good conversation, but we both are able to see your chats. So feel free, if you guys have questions or comments and we find it relevant to the conversation, we'll throw the comment up on the screen, we'll discuss it, and we'll acknowledge that, okay? So, and that's pretty much it. So without further ado, Laura, again, really great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So let's go ahead and start off. We'll start off with the tradition of the first impressions, and how we met. I always like to joke that like I always start fights with everyone in the OP community, so I'm always curious to see, like, I'm curious to see if that's how you felt. I feel like we've met on pretty good terms, but
Yeah,
uh,
starting fights, huh?
that's my yeah. So for you, I think we met via, it was the Facebook, and we were both looking for typing partners, right? Am I not is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think at that time, this was like way back, like this must have been like July, August. And I think we were both looking for typing partners to do our own double blind experiments.
hmm Yeah,
Um
I think it was like I want to say it was like last year, like not
uh,
July, August 2020, but the year before. It was
I
quite a ways back.
it I've only been in the community for, if I'm not mistaken, I've only been here for in the Facebook for 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, so I'm pretty new to it, actually.
hmm
It feels like a long time though, doesn't it? I
Yeah,
think
it
like
does.
I think with the pandemic, time just got like warped. It does feel like I've been there forever, but
Yeah, it's kind of like all days kind of become the same
yeah,
after a
yeah,
while.
yeah, it's kind of weird. So but yeah, so I remember us meeting. Now I I'm not sure what your first impression was of me. I think my first impression of you was it was quite positive. I thought you were very engaged in objective personality, and I still believe you are extremely engaged in what's going on, and you seem to care about it a lot. So you seemed very committed, and I remember some of the questions I was asking you back at that time was like, how long are you, planning to commit to this? And you're like, yeah, I easily see myself doing it for like a year, or I think it was 6 months or something like that. So you had, you were definitely engaged, and you were definitely invested in, learning the system and kind of working through this. So that was really cool to see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I I joined the Objective Personality Facebook group back in November 2018.
Mm,
So just over 2 years.
that's really good.
And then I joined the class in December 2018, and then got officially typed March 2019. And
Mm, really good. So you were here from the beginning, then? I didn't even know that.
not the very beginning,
Okay.
but I think the community had been around for several months before I even joined. I think it started like early 2018.
Yeah.
Um, because I remember when I joined the group, I sort of stumbled upon Objective Personality kind of by accident, because I was on several other typology groups in Facebook, and 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 then on the side it would say, groups you might be interested in joining, and one of them said Objective Personality, and that stood out to me because it's like, well, I want, the objective part of personality, because so many of these other personality groups I'm in, they're not going about it in a very objective way. They rely too much on stereotypes. So it was the word objective that kind of caught my eye. And that's kind of what I thought I would be talking about. And of
Right.
course, objective personality does talk about how to measure personality objectively. But what I didn't realize at the time was that it really is kind of like a whole new typology system with the 512 types. And I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was just going to be like how to measure like Myers-Briggs or Enneagram more objectively. And I didn't know that it was getting into a whole new system. And so people were talking about, they're throwing all these terms like blast and play and masculine, feminine, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And
Right.
they helped me understand it. They referred me to um, the Objective Personality YouTube channel, which used to be called Dave Superpowers channel, and
Mm.
and then shortly afterwards I got into taking the class, and then I just got really into it, and here I am.
Yeah, yeah. And you're definitely extremely appreciated in that community. I mean, one of the like you're definitely like a pillar in terms of organizing the information for sure. I mean, you definitely have a reputation for that. I mean, I think you, if I'm not mistaken, so correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm not mistaken, you were one of the pioneers that kind of created like one of those master sheets of like information saying, hey, if you're new, here's where you can find the definition of terms. Here's where you can find certain YouTubers. Here's
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm doing. I do have
yeah,
I have like a document that collects all the different links that I know of that discuss objective personality. So it could be websites, Facebook groups, YouTube
right,
channels, kind of sort them by category. And then at the beginning of the document, I've got a section that says, if you're new to objective personality, here's some stuff to check out. And maybe when we're done, after we're done, maybe you can link that
sure, yeah,
on the YouTube, uh,
yeah. No,
on the video description for YouTube, so people can
I
find it.
I would appreciate that. Yeah, I mean that
Yeah.
was something I was gonna ask you if with your permission, I would definitely like share that moving forward because I remember when I first joined. So actually, this actually goes back to the first impressions. I don't think I've told you this. When
Mhm.
I first joined, that was one of the first resources I think you provided that to me. Like I don't think you knew who I was, but it's like when you first enter, everyone's saying hi and stuff like that. I think if I'm not mistaken, you commented and you shared the master list as it currently stood. And I mean, that was extremely valuable to me
Yeah,
because,
well,
yeah,
glad you found it helpful, because that's what I'm trying to do. Is I'm trying to make objective personality more accessible to more people. Um, make it more beginner friendly, because it seems like right now
Yeah.
the information that's out there is just kind of scattered about, and like if you look, like if you go to the objective personality website, um sometimes it could be organized a bit better. Or if you go to
Yeah.
the YouTube channel, there's a lot of videos, but it's like, if you're a beginner, which one should you watch? Which one should you watch first? So I'm really glad that you compiled that playlist,
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
objective personality channel, and kind of, take the best videos for a beginner, and make a
Yeah.
playlist from that. That's really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate. I mean, part of that. I mean, and we'll get into this at some point when we do
Mhm.
the compare and
Yeah,
contrast.
yeah.
But a lot of my friends, like that playlist. I've been sharing that even before I did this YouTube channel, because
Mhm.
I have a lot of friends who, or people I just want to talk about it with, but they have no idea what's going on. So it's like I soon had to realize, it's like, look, they're not gonna watch like the videos that Dave and Shane are putting out now because it's too technical. So like I had to go all the way back and find those clips. And
Yeah,
I
because it's gonna be the earlier videos where they really talk about the basics,
yeah,
like a single observer versus a single decider.
right,
And if you watch a later
right,
video, they're just throwing out single observer and act like you know what that is. And
right. Yeah, for
so some
sure.
random person who's new to it might be kind of lost. So
Right, absolutely.
yeah.
So yeah, so it's very interesting that we have a very similar approach to the information for sure. Um yeah, just really cool. So let's do this. I mean, I know you've been through quite a few interviews. You know how the game goes, where it's like, we ask about your type and those type of things.
Mhm.
I am curious about that, so definitely please flesh that out, especially for me, because I might need some help on the SI in particular. But let's go ahead and go through that. We'll then transition to the compare and contrast,
Mhm.
and then there's actually also one thing that I kind of wanted to touch upon when it comes to like how you're experiencing your saviors and demons in particular. So that's going to be kind of the train of thought that we're going to go down. Okay.
Mhm.
So let's start with your type itself. Just so generally speaking, how would you describe your experience of your type?
Um, my
Like your
experience, right?
saviors and demons, like
Okay, sure.
yes.
Okay. Well, I was officially typed by Dave and Shannon as ISTJ, SITE, and
Hmm.
then my animals are blast, play, sleep, consume, and my modalities are MF.
Okay. And okay, so let's break that down. So when starting with the SI, which is the hardest one for me, but how would you describe your experience of that? Like, what does that mean to you to have save your SI?
Sure. Well, for me, it's about organizing, um, you know, facts, details, the known sensory. So it's kind of like what I described before, like for example, making that list of objective personality links, and
Mhm.
and organizing it all, and sorting it out by categories, and making the information more accessible and easier to find. So I think that also kind of combines SI with TE, because it's making it actually work for people.
Right.
And and I'm doing a couple of other projects as well. Miguel and I made a objective personality for dummies guide.
Nice.
So it was kind of taking the basic concepts of objective personality, and what the objective personality method is, and just kind of putting it all in one place, because sometimes that information's all scattered about. So that's another
Right.
thing that we just completed. Yeah, we can go ahead and link that document in the description when we're done.
Right.
And then and then I'm also started up a glossary of commonly used terms in objective personality, because Dave and Shannon have a lot of words and jargon, and
Right.
people new to it might be like, well, what's a glass lizard? What does that mean? And that's when your
Right.
fourth function is being doubly activated, which causes you to look like which may cause you to look like, your opposite type. Like if you're an ISTJ and you have double activated NE, for example, you might look like an ENFP.
Right.
And they call the glass lizard, just in case, we have some beginners that are watching here. They call it a glass lizard because a glass lizard is a lizard that doesn't have any legs, so it looks like a snake, but it's not actually a snake. It's actually kind of lizard. So that's why they call it glass lizard, because it's a type that can, on the surface, look like another type rather than the type they actually belong to.
Right. Yeah, really good. So, yeah, so really good explanation there. Now, one question I had related to that. So I know you mentioned in relation to OP, you're like, hey, a lot of the information is scattered. So, and part of SI, at least in the system, is you're organizing, information.
Yeah.
So outside of objective personality, do you also feel like you're organizing scattered information or
Yeah. I mean, I do it. I do it for my job as a librarian.
Oh, okay, cool.
People are like, help me find information on this topic, and sometimes there'll be tidbits of information scattered from different sources. So it's kind of like bringing them together, and here's here's the most useful information. The most clear information is right here. And sometimes it's just for my own self too. It's like literally organizing my physical surroundings, my physical things, like just so that I can easily find them, easily access them, kind of, kind of narrow down, so I don't accumulate too much junk. Because if there's too much junk around me, I don't know, I don't think as well. It's harder for me to work in an environment that's too messy. So sometimes it's just like, okay, I don't need to hold on to this anymore. I can recycle it or donate it or throw it away.
Right. Really good. Yeah. So it sounds like, so I guess this will tie more so to the demon NE, but does like scattered thinking or scattered information bother you? Is there like a visceral frustration with that?
Well, it kind of depends on the situation. Like if I need the information kind of quickly, it can be annoying, because it's kind of like,
Right.
I'm in a hurry here. Just get to the point. Tell me what I need to know. Don't give me all this irrelevant stuff. But then other times I can be okay with it being scattered. If those other details they're telling me are interesting in themselves. My FI likes it.
Right.
Or I'm not in a hurry. So yeah.
Right. Really good. Yes.
I mean, I would prefer it to be presented in an organized way, so I can just like look at it and I just immediately understand it, and
Right.
that'd be the most ideal.
Right. So okay, so how have you been um yeah, I guess how have you been dealing with like objective personality? I mean, obviously you're organizing as much as you can,
Mm-hmm.
but given the fact that this is, at least in this system, this is like your primary driver, you know, um, is how have you been processing what's been going on with OP, given that they're not really doing that, like they're not really giving clear, organized things. How have you been?
They, do you mean David Shannon or?
Yes, specifically, yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, Dave is lead organized. I mean, he is, but he's lead NI, so I think he's doing it. It's not that he's not organized, but I think he's taking a different approach to it. It's kind of like, it's more NI, it's more abstract, it's more conceptual. So sometimes I still have to filter that through my own SI, and then I think like Dave, for example, he's self above tribe, so he might be more focused on, this is what works for my own, own FI, how I value it, and then I think maybe Shannon, with her Savior TE, she's filling that void. Well, is this going to work or make logical sense for people? The way that we're presenting it. I mean, I think it would be harder if they didn't have TE. And then I think it might.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a little bit
because sometimes they're opposite. They have NISE and I have SINE that makes the decoding a little tricky sometimes. But at least they kind of both have TE, so I can kind of see where they're coming from that perspective.
Right.
Yeah, and I had an interview with Benjamin yesterday, so Benjamin and I actually kind of talked about that, how I kind of need to translate it to my own SI, kind of like what they're saying, and stuff, because they'll say, well, I observed, this person, do this or say that, and they get it down to like one NI pattern, and I'm like, well, how did you get there? And
right.
And this is just for this particular individual, their particular quirk. It may not apply to somebody else. So I kind of need something that could that I could use for different people that I type, because every person is different. So
right.
Yeah.
That's really good. So thanks for sharing that. So transitioning over to the TE, then, can you describe a little bit about how you experience your own TE and even perhaps the TE of other people?
Well, I think for me, it's about wanting to have things make logical sense for people, and and sometimes I'll feel obligated to explain my reasons to other people, like why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it, or and that kind of contrasts with Savior TIs that sometimes feel like they're not obligated to explain their logic.
Right.
And then just kind of seeking out other people's reasons. So for example, in objective personality, why did Dave and Shannon, assign the type that they did to this person, or why are other people in the class seeing this type? That'd be an example to just seeking out reasons from other people. And then like outside of the objective personality community, it could be something like, why is this product better than that product?
Okay.
Not so much values, but more like for reasons, like this one has been shown to work better. This car has better gas mileage, for example. That this car has better safety ratings. It would be something like that.
Okay. Interesting. Anecdotally, is that something that you pay attention to, like whether it's like reviews on, like whether it's Amazon, or what people say about whether it's a certain product or a certain organization?
I will if it's something that I'm not familiar with myself.
Okay.
And I don't know a whole lot about it. Yeah, then I'll check the reviews. But if it's something that's that maybe I already know a lot about myself, I may not always consult reviews. I may just decide, well, this one works for me, so I'm going to get this. And Benjamin and I were talking about this yesterday, and I used to think that I had TI, rather than TE for that reason, because sometimes I am just going by my own reasons. This is what works this is what works for me. And sometimes like if it's like a book or a movie, I may not look at other people's reviews just because I kind of know what I like. I know what I like myself, and sometimes those reviews are kind of more subjective, and it's kind of a matter of personal taste. So,
Right.
in that situation, I may trust my own judgment more than other people, but maybe that's kind of getting more into FI.
Okay.
So I think what I'm consulting from other people is kind of more the reasons, like for a book review, like if it's something, if it's like a practical kind of book, I might look at reviews, but if it's a novel or something, then well, I still might glance at the reviews, like overall a lot of people seem to like it, but I still kind of go by my own judgment. Is this the kind of thing I want to read or not?
Right. Right. Interesting. Okay. Now with that being said, in your OP type, the TE is double activated, right? I mean, and
Yeah,
the
it's
FI is
double
single.
activated.
Do you see that? Do you see that you're, the most, other than the SI, the most predominant aspect about you is the TE? Is that, and or,
I didn't really think it was so predominant before I got typed by OP, and now I think I'm seeing it more and more because yeah, like in the OP community, for example, I am oftentimes pinning off of other people, trying to get their reasons. Like what's your reasoning behind
right?
this or that, or please explain it more clearly. And I think sometimes it's just like wanting to get validation, like in terms of how TE useful I am. Yeah, like for example, in helping other people, like am I knowledgeable? Am I, competent in something? It's kind of using those. Am I successful in, in a T kind of way? Like do the statistics back that up?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like seeking validation in that sort of way
Mm-hmm.
from other people.
Yeah, really good. I'm pausing because I literally I'll tell you, I have therapy, right? So I
Yeah.
recently had, and he knows nothing about the system to my knowledge. And so he literally was telling me today, about this. He was like, yeah, you seem to want like a lot of validation, because I have TE Savior T as well. So he's like, you seem to want a lot of validation. And he's like, does that satisfy you? And I was like, oh God, like that's pretty, observant of him. So I guess I'll ask you the same question. I mean, does that validation satisfy you when you get it?
Yes and no. I mean, it is satisfying. It is satisfying to get validation, but I mean, I still need to be satisfied with it myself.
Mm,
Like, and it's kind of, I guess it's kind of like the FI and the TE, and maybe it's that double deciding, but it's kind of like both sides have to be kind of like I got to get the validation from other people. Other people got to think, that it's effective or works. But then my own FI also has to be satisfied. So if I just have one of those two alone without the other, it's not very desirable.
right.
Like if I like it myself, but other people, other people are saying it's no good, it's dumb, then my self-esteem is going to be negatively affected.
Yeah.
But if somebody is just kind of giving me shallow praise, but I don't personally feel satisfied with it, then it might seem kind of shallow or kind of like, well, yeah, it may not mean as much to me.
Right.
So I think what makes me TE above FI though is kind of like, I think I rely, more on what the tribe thinks, kind of for my own self-image.
Mm.
Kind of like I'm more dependent on what they say, whereas like if I was self above tribe, it probably wouldn't take what other people think into account as much.
Right. Yeah.
Because I could think, well, yeah, I'm really good, I'm awesome, but if nobody else is thinking that, then
Right.
I'm probably going to end up trusting them more than myself.
Right.
Especially if it's a large number of people, you have like one large tribe versus just myself.
Right. Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's kind of generally how I think. I know that's not always the right way to think about things because sometimes, you know, you can have groupthink and the majority can be wrong. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, in a general sense, it's kind of about, the majority and,
Yeah.
where's the majority going with this?
Yeah. Wow. Okay, cool. So shifting over to the FI, I mean, really to the demons. I am curious about how you're experiencing the demons. Like, so let's start with the FI, just
Okay.
since we're on that same axis. Um, First, I'm curious how you're defining FI for yourself, because I've been hearing a lot of. I mean, I have very conflicting definitions. I'm curious to see where, like, in your experience, when you're going
Okay.
through your daily life, like, what are you tagging as FI, and like, how are you experiencing that?
Okay. So first of all, before I answer that, so when you say conflicting definitions,
Yeah.
are these like your conflicting definitions or just conflicting definitions you've read from people?
So great clarifying question.
Yeah.
I would say conflicting maybe not definitions, but just like it's to clarify, it's hard for me to identify what in my life counts as FI or not.
Okay.
And part of the reason I've been having this struggle is there have been many times where I would think I was doing FI, but then it would turn out I was doing more TE. So the
Yeah.
example that I'll give, this happened 2 weeks ago. I was talking to a friend, and he was telling me, I was telling him about therapy, because I mean therapy is like annoying, but I'm doing it. And so the one of the conversations, that I was talking about was this issue of expectations, right? My therapist is like bashing me because he's like, you have high expectations. I was like, what's the problem with that? Like, and so in my mind, with the whole OP understanding of, significance, and you want to be better and all this stuff, my mind was like, oh, okay, I thought I was doing FI. I thought that was an example of FI, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as I was talking to my friend about this, it started leaking out that, oh, I'm comparing myself to, like Julius Caesar, Napoleon Bonaparte, Alexander the Great. So all this tribe of other people, granted they're from the
Mm-hmm.
past,
Yep.
right? And I do think they're very significant and they've accomplished great things, but I'm comparing myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so as I was saying that, I realized, oh no, this is more TE,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've been
Yeah.
experiencing, yeah,
I can relate to that example because I kind of do a lot of the same thing, that comparison that
yeah,
comparison to other people, kind of like these people have achieved more than I do. They're better
yeah,
me at being this thing. They got better numbers. Their statistics are
right,
better.
right,
You know, their grades are higher. Their typing accuracy is better.
yeah,
They got more subscribers on their YouTube channel.
yeah,
I don't even have a YouTube channel. I'm just throwing it out there, but
yeah,
but,
yeah,
but you know what I'm saying, yeah.
yeah, I do.
And that's something that Benjamin and I were talking about too, because he didn't quite get that. Like, why? Like, he doesn't even really look at numbers. He's like, doesn't really care. And for me, that's kind of how you gauge that, is by
Yeah,
numbers and facts. And
Yeah, there it's evidence, right? Yeah, it's proof that you are what you say you are, right? If you're
Yeah.
saying you're the best or whatever, then like show me,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know?
I
Yeah.
mean, like, okay, I guess an example of my own would be like I have these values
Mhm.
that that seem strong and kind of hard for me to move, but it could just be coming from a point of TE. So like for example, like I value I think that like healthcare should be a basic right for everybody. And
Right.
nobody should have to die or just live in pain because they can't financially afford it. It's kind of like the human life. Like human lives are valuable just in themselves. They shouldn't have a monetary
Right.
value on it. But maybe it's kind of more in terms of TE because Dave and Shannon often talk about TE like being the Pharisees, like,
Right.
we should all be equal. And like the healthcare system, basically it needs to work for everybody. And if there's people that if it's not working for, then it's not a good system. So maybe
Yeah.
that's an example.
Yeah, no, I think that is a great example. And that's what, you know, hopefully this isn't too like self-absorbed. I've been processing this, like I've been not processing it so much as like stressed out about this for a while, is that you think you're doing your demons, but you're doing more of your saviors. So that I've been noticing, at least in myself, that that's what's been happening. Because
Yeah.
I do think that would be an example of TE to me, actually, right? Like,
Mhm.
so class, another good example of something that's very similar to that is like
Mm.
what's her name? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yep.
I think I'm
Mhm.
saying her
Yeah,
name right.
she's saver TE. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and she's very passionate about, hey, we need to do all these things for the people, and
Mhm.
these are, she'll
Yeah,
say,
and
these are my
Melinda
values.
Gates was too. Like she was doing
Exactly.
all this philanthropy stuff, and she's
Exactly.
a lead TE. So
Exactly. So
because
yeah,
she was describing it in terms of this is what works, this is what's going to work.
right.
So
Right. And that's what's scary to me, because like you can
yeah.
even use like, and that's what makes, not only is that what makes typing hard, just like typing
Hmm.
other people, but also like self-awareness. It makes self-awareness really hard, because it's, at least I'm going to speak for myself. I'm not, you can decide if this is true for you. I will use like um words that sound like value talk, like, so FI. It sounds
Yeah.
like, oh, I feel this way, or I'm passionate about this, or I'll literally
Um,
say things like, these are my
yeah.
values.
Hmm.
But then when you decompose it, it's like, okay, what are you saying? Like, you're like, oh, I want things to work for other people,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
That's
Hmm.
TE,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? Um, yeah. So anyway,
Yeah. Because
yeah,
like if I'm describing myself, I'll say like I'm very sensitive and I'm compassionate and I
right,
and I and I feel things and I feel things deeply and like like I I get like I'm like I'll like when I'm in a demon state I'll say I'm easily hurt, I'm easily offended, I must be a feeling type and not a thinking type. I'm
right.
so sensitive you don't even know.
Yeah, yeah,
And they always, Dave and Shannon say, well, if you say like I'm so this you don't even know, then it's probably peacocking a demon.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, let me ask this, and like, so this is my working hypothesis of what FI is. Like, I'm sure I'm gonna butcher it. Some FI
Mhm.
savior is gonna come on here and be like, no, that's wrong. I
Yep,
I
yep,
get that.
yep.
But I'm curious, you know, when what is your relationship to doing things like, sorry, let me rephrase that. How often are you going about doing things to just make yourself happy, like without worrying about like other people?
Um, I would like to do it more often than I do.
Okay.
I try to do it like when I'm alone by myself. It's pretty easy to just do things. it's pretty easy to just do things that make me happy. I can just, relax,
Right.
eat my favorite foods, put on
Right.
some good music, you know, watch videos, um, maybe go outside, walk in nature. I mean, it's pretty easy, when I'm alone by myself. But I think, when I'm with other people, then it's kind
Mm.
of like, well, then I'm obligated to meet their needs.
Right.
And like I said, I used to be confused about FE and FI, like, because sometimes I feel like I do pay attention to the spectrum of people's values. Like
Mm.
if we're having people over for a dinner, for example, I mean, I want to know what people's food preferences are, because I don't want to cook something that people aren't going to like. Um,
Right.
but it could also be TE, like this is going to work for them, this is not going to work for them. Or if we're
Yeah.
planning a social gathering together, I'm going to make sure that we have activities that people are going to want to do,
Right.
and that people are going to have a good time and enjoy themselves. So I mean, I do think about those. I do think about those things. So, and I mean, and I definitely don't want to. I don't want to make other people upset or mad. So,
Right.
so I think for a while there, I'm like confused. Maybe I'm FE and not TE. But then I know that, like, TE can kind of look like FE sometimes because it is tribe focused, and then especially if TE is more feminine,
Right.
um, because you're being accommodating, and maybe it's really reasons and not values. It's kind yeah, it gets kind of tricky. Is this a reason, or is this a value from other people? Where is that line?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. Do you so one thing that one aspect of the system that they talk about in relation to savior thinking or demon feeling
Mhm.
is that when it comes to demon feeling, um demon feelers or savior thinkers or whatever you want to call it, they refuse to accept negative emotion at all, right? I'm not sure,
Okay.
so
Well, yeah, I
go ahead.
wouldn't say I necessarily refuse to accept it, but I am uncomfortable with it, and I do
Okay.
like to avoid it if I can.
Right.
And sometimes I worry about being put into situations that I know are gonna cause negative feeling, whether
Right.
it's my own feeling or other people's feelings.
Right.
And um and like sometimes it's like, well, I don't want to make people upset, because then I got to deal with their emotions, and I don't feel well equipped to do that. So,
Right. Right.
then that kind of suggests more like demon feeling, rather than a savior. So
Yeah. Yeah. I
it's kind of
yeah, the
like,
thing.
and David
Mhm.
Shannon said, well, if like TE will think, if it works, then you can be happy. And then that's kind of the way I naturally tend to think, because for me, well, you're happy but nothing works. I mean, that seems kind of backwards to me.
Right.
So
Right.
so so I think I'm more, because I used to think that, well, maybe I'm FE or have FE savior because I feel responsible for people's feelings. But I think what it really boils down to is I'm responsible to make things work for people, to avoid them from having bad feelings that I don't want to deal with.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
Uh,
Man, yes, I definitely am doing that as well. Um and it's funny because and I'll just share this, and I might do this when I do my next sleep processing session on the show. One thing I've been noticing with the savior feelers that I have had on the show, as well as some that I'm talking to in potential to have on the
Mm-hmm.
show, they really are primarily concerned with making sure that there's a good emotional, like there's no middleman. It's like, I'm noticing you're feeling bad. How can I make you feel better? Like that's really, they
Yeah.
go right after that. And
Okay.
really, I really appreciate it, honestly. It's
Mm-hmm.
really like, especially for me as a savior thinker, it's like, yeah, you're making all these things work, but it's like, I'm not sure if you relate to this. Sometimes you're trying to make things work even though you're miserable,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're just trying to power through it, and I think a lot of the savior feelers, one thing I appreciate about them personally is they will say, hey, no, drop this for 5 minutes, like let's make sure you're okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can work.
Right.
Now, there's pros and cons. I mean, sometimes they don't want to work, but
Right. Right.
doesn't
Yeah.
ignore
Yeah.
but I think there's a place for that. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Because I think, well, I think in the American work culture, it's kind of very TE focused sometimes. It's all
mhm,
about, how many widgets can you produce
yeah,
in an hour and all these statistics and metrics. And, sometimes I wonder if I was raised in another country, would I be a different type?
okay,
But I think according to Dave and Shannon, it is they think it's mostly based on nature and not nurture,
right, right,
because they'll talk about siblings that are raised in the exact same family and they turn out totally different. So, and they were raised in a very similar environment. So,
right,
but but yeah, it's because I think for me it's like, well, I want to just be able to you know process through the emotions, but sometimes I feel like I gotta just push myself and do the work. Yeah, I'm upset, I'm stressed, I'm afraid, but I can't do that. I can't deal with that right now because I gotta get this task done. I gotta push through it.
right,
And then later on I can process. Um and maybe that's also affected by sleep versus play.
yeah,
Like maybe if you're play above sleep, you're gonna expend the energy more, and then later on you can process, kind of like you got to earn your sleep time.
right, yeah.
So I could see that playing into that too. So
All right, really good. Okay, good. So, I would say closing up at least this section, because I mean,
sure,
like there's a lot of facets to your type, but
yeah,
um, I know, I think especially given that you did the Benjamin interview, guys, if you guys are interested in like the intricacies of Laura's type, I mean, for sure, go check out the Benjamin. He's really great at the very technical interviews. That's probably the primary source here.
yeah.
But I
Yeah,
am curious,
he gets pretty technical, and
for sure, for sure.
I mean it's
Yeah,
interesting because he has the opposite functions in his stack. We're both STs, but he
yeah,
uses the opposite functions, so you can kind of see that
yeah.
dynamic there, and
Yeah,
you
so
know
absolutely,
contrast those
absolutely.
two.
So yeah, so I'm gonna kind of, I'm curious about the any, and then we'll just do a compare and contrast real quick.
Um,
But yeah, if you guys want to go like super in depth, I mean, for sure, go check out the Benjamin interview with Laura. I think that just came out yesterday as well. So, with any, I am curious how you understand what that is.
mhm,
I'm also curious for myself because, and this would actually be a good segue to the contrast, because in the system I'm lead any, and I'm double activated. So I am curious to see how not only how you define any, how you experience in your own life, and possibly even your frustrations with it, because I'm coming
mhm.
at it from a totally opposite end of the
Right.
spectrum.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
sure. Well, I mean, I see it as, you know, gathering different ideas and possibilities and not just narrowing it down to just one, but kind of branching out to more and more and more.
Mhm.
And actually, I mean, I think I use NE quite a bit. But I mean, it is activated. It's an activated demon in my
Right.
second play animal, so maybe I can, access it a little bit more than some ISTJs. but on the other hand, I can easily get overwhelmed by it because there's too many possibilities, and then there's like more and more chaos, coming in, and it's like I need to narrow it down. But there's more stuff coming in that needs to be considered. Yeah, it's kind of like when I'm typing somebody for the OP class, and you know and you're trying to narrow it down to one type, but
Yeah.
then as you're watching the video, you start you have more and more data points, and then you kind of see more and more possibilities. Well, maybe this behavior
Yeah.
suggests this, but then this thing that they did, it could be that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's kind of where I can get stuck. And
Yeah. That's so funny. What's funny about that, and I guess we might as well integrate the compare and contrast now, because I experience the same thing. I
Mhm.
get frustrated by my Annie a lot. I mean, although I can't always see when I'm doing it. I mean, that's
Right.
when I get stuck. But
Mhm.
like a perfect example, I mean, for the most recent class that's coming out on Tuesday, I work with a typing partner, Felix, and we, every week we're supposed to have like, it's so dumb. Like we're supposed to have our types done by Sunday so we could talk about it.
Mhm.
Me, I show up not done,
Mhm.
and then I tell I feel terrible, but it's like then I basically tell Felix to like endure me talk out loud for 20 minutes while I figure it out on the spot, because there's so many possibilities.
Um,
And I'm
so,
like,
but I think that's the TENE play animal.
yeah,
You're talking like ideas and brainstorming and trying to work out the logic that way. Because I do the same thing a lot. I kind of
yeah,
like having a sounding board. I kind of like here's here's what I've been thinking. But I think I probably have a stronger desire to narrow it down, and to
right,
resolve something rather
right,
than keep spreading out. Even though I will see the different possibilities, but for me, it's like, I don't know. It's like the possibilities are kind of like more like data to be considered, so that we can
right,
come to some decision.
right. Now I know your NE is activated, so this next question may not be as um applicable to you, but I'm curious when it comes to the NE. Is there a fear or a frustration or like a resentment towards NE, or people who have a lot of NE, so to speak? Do you experience any of that?
Um, Sometimes.
Okay.
And I mean, this kind of depend. It depends. It depends on the situation. I mean, sometimes any can be really fun and enjoyable. Like if I'm just relaxed, chill.
Mm,
I don't have like some set agenda that I have to fill. I'm not running on a
mhm.
tight deadline. It can be fun to just brainstorm and come up with all these crazy ideas and let it all out. But like if I have an agenda, like if I'm working on a project and I'm
Right.
trying to organize, I'm trying to narrow down, I'm trying to get a specific piece of information, and this person's just keep going off on tangents and not getting to the point, then I can be annoyed by that.
Right, because do you like experience that as a distraction? It sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a distraction. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, just you know, get to the point. Just give me the facts.
Yeah. I would say so I'll share my perspective on
Sure. Yeah.
why I do that. I can't speak for
Okay.
all NEs, but like I think sometimes when I catch myself doing the tangents, it's usually in a situation where I don't respect the plan. So there's a respect issue,
Hmm.
right? I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
this plan is not serious. It's like,
Hmm.
so I'm gonna keep being silly here. That
Yeah.
that will happen. However,
Okay.
I mean, of course, there are situations where even for me, I mean, part of it may be the masculine sensory, but
Mhm.
like sometimes even I know I'm like, all right, we need to we need to shut this down and really focus on how we're getting from A to B because
Yeah. Yeah, because I know for me also masculine sensory, it's like I'm focused a lot on time,
mm,
like are we fitting the time? Are we fitting the time frame? Are we meeting the deadline?
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's so interesting. So yeah, I mean, so let's actually go straight to the compare and contrast because I think that'll actually be more fruitful here.
Okay, sure.
I would say um how do I word this? From what I'm hearing, subjectively resonate with a lot of what you're saying, but I know I'm not doing what you're doing somehow.
Mhm. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
catch
Right.
percent. Now I know I can be very not can be. I know I am often extremely abstract. Like I've been told a lot throughout my life. I'm overthinking things.
Mhm.
This is a little bit theoretical. Can you ground this for me, please?
Right. And it's
Um,
interesting because I used to think I was an intuitive type because I'm
yeah,
thinking about all these possibilities and I'm interested in theories like personality typology
yeah,
and I'm philosophizing. I'm thinking about the big questions, the meaning of life. But then most people tell me that you're really concrete and you're clear and I'm often the one that is having to ask people clarifying questions when they are going to abstract. So
yeah,
it's interesting. I've kind of
yeah.
able to see that in myself more clearly now that I have objective personality.
Yeah, I mean I still can't see it in myself. I mean it's now what's interesting is even while we're talking, I can tell it's like I mean I could lie to myself, all day long if there's no contrast. But like in this conversation for me, I'm like, "Oh no, this is like you're doing something I can feel it. It's like you're doing something I'm not doing. Like you
Mhm.
seem to be very and I'm not saying this negatively. I'm saying but like you
No,
seem to be
no.
very linear. Like,
Yeah.
"Hey, okay, we're talking about this. Okay, good. Now we're talking about this. Okay,
Mhm.
good." And like you're moving in a very
Chapter talking.
yes, very very chapter talking. And I don't I would like to believe that I'm doing that, but I know I can tell I'm not.
Mhm. Well,
Um
at least you're aware. That's kind of the first step is, being aware of where you're leaving a
yeah,
void. And
yeah. It's I mean I don't know if I'm aware so much as I'm just trusting the math on that. Like
mhm.
I can't catch it. I
Okay.
all I know is that when you're talking, I'm like, okay, she's way more,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna share this, not again, hopefully this isn't negative or anything like that. Like,
Sure.
but like for me, it's like there is a visceral, like while you're talking, there is a visceral reaction I'm having. I'm like of like slowness, right?
Oh,
Not so let's be clear, this is not negative. I'm just saying this
no.
is a bias. And I think this is showing me insight into NE because NE wants to just rush,
Mhm.
right? I don't know if you've experienced that with other NE users. I've experienced this with a lot of NE users themselves. It's like we're rushing past like this stuff's important. Like I need to know what you're talking about. But for me,
Okay.
like just like there's a speed element that my NE wants.
Mhm.
And because like I think yeah, this is giving me insight into SI because SI wants to be more patient and build. I mean, that's part of
Okay.
organizing. Like it wants to build something. The NE is I can feel it in me getting extremely frustrated and like
Okay. Well, that's kind of interesting because, um, sometimes like I'll listen to NEs and I feel like they're going a little too fast for me. Slow
yeah,
down. But I think it's because my SI brain takes more time to process that kind of information.
mm,
And I guess maybe sometimes I'm slow to others because I feel obligated to give people the sensory and in like
right,
how you got to A and B and those transitions. And
right.
somebody with any savior, they're already making the leaps in their mind and they don't need all that.
Yeah. I mean what I will say though, like um I do believe that.
But then on the other hand, I can get impatient listening to other people, and I think sometimes I'll think they're either too fast because I'm not really understanding what they're saying, or I think they're too slow because they're not getting to the point. So I
Right.
have
So
that too. But I think for me,
yeah,
it's more like I want to narrow down, and then for
yeah.
you, it's probably more like I know this already. Give me new.
Well, I mean, but I think so. I'll make my point and then I'll
Okay,
jump to
sure,
what I
sure,
was gonna
sure.
say.
Yeah,
So I do think there's a place for the building. You need a foundation, right?
yeah.
Especially, and I think especially, and I think this is what you're doing really well in the OP community, especially for people who don't have the prior context. You need to go through and build up. Okay, this
Mm-hmm.
is what this means. Like for example, and you did this really well throughout this conversation. You're like, this is what glass lizard means. This is
Mm-hmm.
what this means. This is what this function means, and you're building a shared understanding.
Yeah.
You know, which is really great. I think what, and to transition to the point I was going to make about any saying, "Oh, I got the point." If I'm being honest, and this is like a secret between us and everyone watching or whatever, like I don't
Well,
think
then
any.
it's not real. That's not so much a secret.
I'm messing with you. I'm joking with you. I'm joking with you. But like,
Okay,
so
I take things too literal.
yes,
Okay.
yeah, I'm messing with you. But like, I would say any often jumps to conclusions without enough sensory, and the conclusion's usually wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've noticed, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just jumping and it's switching, but then when you ask that, like, when you go back, it's like it's not even relevant. Like that's what frustrates me about other end users even is
Mm-hmm.
they'll jump, they'll make a connection that has nothing to do with what we were talking about.
Oh yeah, yeah, yep.
And I'm like, what, where'd you get that from? And they're like,
Okay.
oh, like I'm being very facetious here, but I have had situations like this happen. Unfortunately, I don't have the sensory, but it's almost as though I'm going, like, let's say we were going through this whole conversation, right? And I happen to say the word dragonfly for whatever reason. Let's say for whatever reason, the end user grabs onto that word, that one sensory, and jumps off into all these possibilities about or theories about dragonflies. And I'm like, I wasn't talking about that. I just happened to say that.
Yeah.
And it's distracting. I think that's where it gets
Mm-hmm.
extremely frustrating. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I catch myself doing that as well. It's really bad in a work context. That's why I tend to shut up. You know, when we're like doing business stuff, because I'm like, no,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Okay.
let me be very careful here. I can't. You know, I gotta stick to the script. But yeah. So any is very it locks onto very arbitrary sensory points that have nothing to do with the bigger thing that the SI is building. And it will just tangent off. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what are you doing? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really good. Um, okay. So the SINE is an important one. Now, associated with that is a question I have for you is we're both demon sleep. I get that, but your sleep is higher.
Right.
So I'm curious how you're doing sleep processing. I mean, this is always a question I have, specifically with the SI and the FI. I think you're double masculine as well, right? Inner world.
Well, yeah, my sleep is double masculine.
Yeah, yeah. So can you just talk to me about like from your SI savior perspective, like what that process is like for you?
Okay. Yeah. And I'll try not to go too slow and bore you here. So a lot of it is like nostalgia and reminiscing, you know, like like kind of going back to my past, and this is how I felt at
Yeah,
this time and in this moment, and you know, these are the things that I value from life and want out of life, and this situation made me feel this way. um, I liked how I felt. How can I make sure that happens again? Or this gave me a bad feeling. How can I avoid that?
right, 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 right. Yeah, that's actually a really good one.
Mhm.
Wow. Are you doing that like? Are you doing that intentionally? Are you setting aside time in your day to do that, or like how is that?
I don't really set aside time.
Okay.
I just do it when I get a chance to.
Okay. Okay. I don't. Like, I mean, that's my problem. So just to contrast, I mean, we both have it as a demon, but mine is like last, like all the way last. Right? Because
Yeah.
I'm play and I'm double activated on the play. So I like, and what I'm finding is I don't even like, even as it's not even you personally, like every time someone talks to me about sleep, I don't respect it. I'm like, why would anyone do that? Like it, like that sounds like a waste of time to me.
Okay.
Like, now let me ask you, especially given the fact that, you know, you've been doing it for a while, like what, other than like, this sounds, I know this, I'm talking from a very like demon territory, other than just feeling good feelings, like what is the sleep processing doing for you? I know that's like almost TE again, but like what is it doing for you, like in your life?
Okay. Gosh. Well, I think it's just kind of assessing my life, kind of like am I doing the things I really want to do in my life? Am I Gosh, this is hard to answer this question. But yeah, well, like I said before, you know, like a lot of it is just, there's a lot of just reminiscing, you know, there's a nostalgia element to it, which may or may not help me out in the future. Well, I
Okay.
suppose it can, because I can look back to what I did before and then
Right.
try to do it again, try to relive it,
Okay.
or make changes accordingly, kind of like, well, I didn't like how that turned out. I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have done it like this. I shouldn't have said that.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I can kind of use it to reflect, and then kind of use that as a guide to plan my next move.
Interesting. Is sleep processing something that you associate with like a lot of aggression or intensity, given that it's double masculine, or is that not the
Um,
case?
I think it can be aggressive. Well, it can be aggressive when people try to mess with my sleep, like
Okay.
like
Okay.
like people are breaking my concentration. I can get
Okay.
annoyed. Like I may not outwardly express it, but internally there's like kind of like a strong no, get out of my way kind of thing. And
Right.
I mean, I suppose on occasion I can blow up, like if I just get overwhelmed by too much,
Right.
like there's just too much I got to do, and it's like all of a sudden I shut down and I'm like no,
Right.
I need my own space. And
Right.
I mean it, and I think the other thing is, it's sort of like, I don't know if this is sleep so much, but if somebody just totally shits on something I value, like, because with FI, values are personal.
Right.
um I can be like, fuck you, and again, I may not outwardly express it, but internally I'm like,
Right. Right.
yeah,
Right.
there's like a fuck you kind of thing,
That's and that's
or
funny.
if they're mean and rude about it, then it may be kind of like a fuck you, but yeah, so.
Right. It's funny to hear that from you, because your feminine DE is so strong. Like, I I know on paper you have masculine FI, but I didn't know it was still that punchy, you know? That
Well,
isn't that
like I said, it's a demon, so it's gonna punch in a demon state. I mean,
right.
yeah,
Right.
if you go too far
Yeah.
attacking it, it's like, or like when people are mean or rude to people, that's where it comes out too. Like, why do you have to be so mean? And it may look like FE, because like somebody may be mean or rude to other people,
Mm,
but I think it's coming from my own FI, because it is a value of mine, and I'm thinking about how my FI would be affected. Well, FI wouldn't like that if somebody treated me that way. So therefore I kind of assume other people won't want to be treated that way. So then I
right.
can kind of kind of be like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you so mean and rude to this person? But then I'm
Oh yeah.
aggressive about it,
Oh yeah.
which paradoxically comes off as rude, which was not what I intended, because I just
Right.
want people to be happy and get along, and I don't.
Right. Right. That's funny. I like, and Laura, I really appreciate you sharing that because I think I've been. I mean, people have called me out on this in the past, but I am suspicious that what I think sleep processing isn't. Right. Going back to the whole, I think I'm doing my demons, but I'm doing more my saviors because whenever I thought I was doing sleep processing, it was always this very intense, like working out process. Like it's like I'm going and I'm journaling and I'm gonna figure out like see even when I
Yeah,
say it,
and
like
I don't journal or meditate.
oh
I
okay.
Well, I do make like to-do lists. I do that, but yeah, I don't do like heavy journaling. I don't do heavy journaling or meditation. And I guess somehow I feel like it's a waste of time because I could
Mm,
be getting actual things done. I don't want to spend all this time just thinking about it, writing it down when I could be doing it. Um, yeah, it's funny because when I first got into OP, I thought I have high sleep. I'm very introspective. I'm in my head all the time. I'm an introvert. I probably have sleep first. I probably have play last. You kind of know how that goes. And and then I think why I identify a lot with sleep, and sometimes I still wonder if Dave and Shannon mistyped me and I have sleep above play,
okay.
because I do feel like I do a lot of internal processing, but but I think I'm more responsible to do the play, and the sleep is something that I kind of earn, kind of
Mhm.
like I can reward myself and do some sleep now, um and because it's double masculine too, I think people kind of tend to identify a lot with a double masculine animal, and
Mm,
so
okay.
that could be
Right.
I identify with
Right.
my sleep, kind of like, well, I'm so introspective and I'm so sensitive and FI and
Right. Right. Right.
yeah.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, I definitely it's yeah, I'm gonna have to work on that. I as you're talking, I mean you're um I will need to reconsider just how much of my so-called sleep processing is just me playing like or at least doing TE at least,
Yeah.
trying to figure it out. I mean, I was even about to say that, so I was like, okay,
And then
maybe
they, and then, and then they say
that.
like you can do like blast and play without alone, like without other people. So you
Right,
kind of wonder if what you're doing, what you think is sleep, is really like blasting and just blasting or playing in
right,
your
or
head. Because
something. Yeah,
sometimes, like, like, yeah, I'm by myself, but then I'll imagine conversations in my head where I'm like playing or blasting to someone. Is that really sleep? And
right. Yeah, and that's
you know,
what's scaring me. I mean, that's what's
yeah.
scaring me about what I've been going through over the past few weeks. Like, we don't have to get into that, but again, I mean, it just you think you're doing one thing, but it turns out you're doing like the opposite thing.
Yeah,
It's crazy. So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, definitely appreciate that. I'm definitely gonna play that clip back for myself and just really kind of absorb that because I think it sounds closer to the advice I've been getting from from many people. Like, maybe appreciate what's in your life. Appreciate what your life has been. So,
Well,
um,
yeah, and I think just taking time for gratitude,
mm,
because sometimes I don't do that enough. It's kind of like, um, it it's easy to just think about what's lacking in your life and trying to focus on what you're lacking and trying to get that, or trying to keep up with the Joneses, and just stepping back and like, here's what I'm thankful for. Life may suck, but I'm grateful for this.
right. Yeah, I need to work on that. But yeah, really appreciate you sharing that. The last major contrast, honestly, Well, actually, let me see. Blast play. Really the only other major one in my mind is the energy versus the info dom.
Okay.
I am curious about that. I
Yeah,
know and also I do think we need to touch upon the consume last. I'm still
sure.
confused as to what that is.
Yeah,
Honestly,
and
I
sometimes I kind of wonder if if I'm mistyped because,
sure.
well, I mean, David Shannon used so many. There's so many anecdotes out there because I don't feel like I'm just bullshitting when I tell people stuff. Like I'm making sure that I've at least consumed enough information
Right.
so that it's accurate and it's clear, and
Right.
I'm at least doing that much. And I used to think that I had high consume when I first learned OP because I'm like, I love to learn and I like to read, and heck, I'm even a librarian. And
Yeah.
but then it's like I do tend to go through the same boxes all the time. And I guess if I'm going to be really honest with myself, it is hard to take in totally new things, if they don't fit into my OI box. So
Mm.
and sometimes there's pieces of information that other people seem to have and know, and somehow it doesn't get through to me.
Mhm.
So um yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't even get me started. I'm wondering if I'm well, I don't even know what type I am, honestly. Like like that's really freaking confusing for me. Like
Because, well,
um
you got officially typed, but do you have parts
I
that
got
you
officially
doubt
typed
or
once.
question? What?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Well, yeah, I can hear you. I know you've been officially typed, but do you have like parts that you are still in doubt about?
I'm 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 just in a really uncertain place. Like
Yeah.
because I initially got typed play blast and then it got switched to play consume.
Okay.
But it's like the more I see myself, it's like I'm like piling up anecdotes on both sides.
Right.
And I'm like,
Yeah. Well, it seemed to me like you have pretty high blast because like you like when we were arranging this um interview, like you kind of wanted to control different aspects of it, but I don't know that you're all the way cranked up like Tony Robbins is. Of course, he's a rather extreme example because play blast consume sleep, that is the most extroverted of all the animal
exactly.
stackies.
Yeah.
So but I mean, you don't seem to be missing either. I don't think you're missing either consume or blast. I shouldn't say missing. I should say I don't think you have either one last. I think they're probably right to put you asleep last.
Yes. Yeah,
Because
I'm
based
not
on what
yeah,
you're saying, it seems like you are leaving a void there. So
right. Yeah, so anyway,
yeah.
yeah, I've been stressed out about that. Like I'm trying to trust the second typing, but like I did get it in a very kind of sketchy way. So, it's like I'm like I don't know. Um that's what happens when you don't do the SI. There's too much, uncertainty. Like it's like I should have just like sucked it up and did the video typing. That's really what I should have done.
Oh, so you got typed by a phone call?
Yes, I got
Okay.
typed both times.
So you did it twice?
Yeah, I
Oh,
did
you
it
did it
once last.
one from Dave and one from Shannon?
No, I did. So I did two phone calls last year.
Okay.
That was when I got the play blast from both Dave and Shan.
Okay, got it.
And then I did a phone call this past, I think, July or May or
Okay.
something like that.
Mhm.
And Dave switched it, but it's over the phone.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
like, and even the way Dave switched it, I was like, this, even even when I talk about it, I'm like, this feels kind of weird. Like
Mhm.
it feels kind of arbitrary, his reasoning here, you
Yeah.
know. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, and I've always kind of wondered which typing method is better, video or phone call? I mean, because phone call is you have that in-person interaction live, which can
Mhm.
be an important data point.
Right.
But then when you're typing by a phone call, you may not have as much information to work from because it's just that phone call. Whereas with the video, you have like a preset list of questions that you answer that are kind of designed to go into your savior or demon states.
Right.
And if you're just doing a phone call, you may not. Yeah. So, I mean, I think ideally you might get the best typing if you can do both, if you can do both video and phone call
Right.
and put the two together.
Yeah,
because I did the video typing.
Right. I don't know.
But then I followed it up. I followed it up with a phone call with Dave because I had some points that he wanted to clarify, and I'm like, "Are you sure this is right? Are you well, especially about the animals because I was surprised that they put me as play above sleep and then consume last. I guess my saviors and modalities right, but I thought my animal order was blast, sleep, consume, play. That's what I guess. So I kind of wanted clarification on that. And
okay.
And then David says, well, I think we typed you right for these reasons, and something's got to be last, and
Right.
no, you don't seem to be a bullshitter like Ty Lopez, but you do seem to be going through the same boxes over and over again, and
right.
kind of rehashing the same points over and over again. So,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my little,
Yeah.
I'm sure, I think my decision is just like one of faith, because like I do believe Dave and Shan when they say you spit out your saviors and demons every 5 minutes. Like I do think we are that like conditioned.
Yeah. Right.
So I do want to have the faith that phone call was enough. The second one.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna like I'm that's why I like, for example, in the video descriptions here, I do put play, consume, and it's just hard sometimes for me because I still have that insecurity of like, because I do feel like sometimes like if I'm doing consume, I don't understand consume. That's where I stand on that. If I'm doing consume, I don't get it because there's a lot of times where I am ignoring, like a lot, like I don't watch or consume like really anything other than really narrow stuff.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. Lately it's mostly typology stuff.
Right.
And but then it's like I will go all in and consume everything, and it's sort of like OP. Like I'm on like all the Facebook groups, and I'm subscribed to all the YouTube channels, and I try to watch as many videos as I can fit in, So
Right.
so is that but is it really consume if it's not always brand new, and you're just like trying to if you're just checking with your own basic understanding of it, and you're just
right.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of anecdotes around consume. You read a lot, you watch a lot of videos, you're high consume. I mean,
it's crazy. Anyway, Laura, I mean that's like we could probably talk about that for a long time.
We could, yeah. So.
I don't get it, but just to kind of close out the contrast, I am curious. Going back to what we were talking about, like contrasting, being energy dominant yourself versus me being info dominant, as well as kind of going back to the consume last, like you said, you don't fully, agree.
Well, energy versus info dominant, that's probably the part I'm the most confused on for my own typing, because I can relate to both of them. And Dave and Shannon, they weren't really that clear on my last animal. They weren't sure if it was sleep or consume. But they thought that they said, well, we're going to go with consume last because we thought we heard a few signs of possible energy dominance, because you did talk about wanting to conserve resources and not waste time. So, but I don't know if that's really enough evidence, because sometimes it's like I do take information seriously, and if people are just joking, goofing around, that's fun up to a point, but it's like I'm here to learn stuff, and
right.
And like for me, I take the information seriously in that, I want it to be accurate, and and I'm obligated to check facts and stuff. So is that consuming because I don't want to be blasting out information and telling people wrong, and then I look like a fool,
Right.
or is that just because I'm ST, so I'm obligated for sensory accuracy and clarity, which is it, or
Right.
is it because I'm infodom,
Right.
so, and not energy dom, and but then it's like, well, then I'd have sleep, if I'm infodom, then I sleep last, and I don't know, I have a hard time seeing myself as sleep last, but I suppose it's possible because with all these other people that think they're high sleep and they're not. So
Right. Yeah. Oh man. Um yeah, so I mean it's hard. I see myself as info dominant personally.
yeah,
That is
yeah,
clear to me about myself.
yeah. And
I,
I'm
I
I'm not sure because I can kind of see both. I mean, yeah, I take the information
right.
seriously, but then at the same time, I don't want to spend an excessive time, you know, on information either. I want it to be simple. I want it to be easy. I want
Right.
things to be efficient. So who knows?
Right, exactly. Okay. Well, okay, so I guess we're just confused about those last ones. I'm not I don't get it either. Um
Um,
okay, really good. So I mean, I think the only other thing that let me just triple check off my notes here. Well, I mean, really the only other thing that we can kind of talk about before we close out is just, I mean, you've definitely been contributing a lot to the OP community, and and but I mean, in addition to that, you've been going through a process of learning how to type yourself. I know you've been touching upon that here and
mhm.
there, and I'm sure if I'm not mistaken, you spoke a little bit about that on the Binion one, so this might be a rehash as well. But I am curious to see, what have been the biggest lessons you've learned, whether it's about yourself or about people, through this process of learning how to type.
Lessons to learn that I really suck at typing.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's really, it's tough. It's because people aren't like cookie cutter stereotypes that are often portrayed in the media.
Right.
And there's a lot of nuance in there, and people, people don't always present themselves honestly either, and so I've kind of had to learn, how am I detecting a savior versus a demon, and being able to differentiate between the two, and you can't always go by what they say. Okay, they said the word fact 10 times. They said the word possibilities 5 times. Therefore, they're more sensing than intuitive. You can't do it that way. And early on when I was typing people, that was kind of the approach I was taking, was, okay, they're saying these words. Here's how often they're saying them, and where it should really be about what are the larger patterns that you're seeing, what voids are they leaving in life, what are their ongoing problems, and that's what I'm supposed to be focusing on.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Have you, while typing, have you learned like anything about yourself, like whether it's, if you, for example, because we've had, I think the last person we typed in the class was, well, I
show it
mean,
tell.
yeah, it was blast first, consume last. So I mean,
Right.
in
Yeah.
those type of situations, are you learning more about yourself? Are you seeing?
Well, see, the thing is that like I said, I mistyped him
Mm,
severely. Like, I typed him as MFFISC, consume, sleep, play, blast last. And then
mhm.
he was typed as MF any MFNIFE, blast, sleep, play, consume. So
Right.
um and I didn't see him as having high blast. but I think it could be because he's an NF, and the NF
Mm,
blast looks very different than the ST blast, and NFs aren't they aren't going to be as clear communicating, at least not to me, because I'm an ST, so I want things to be clear, and that's something I look for.
right.
You know, so that could be why I thought he had low blast, and then his blaster functions NIFE are both feminine, so
Mm,
yeah, I totally missed that, and I thought he was high consumed because he was talking about how he did all this extensive research
right.
um, when he made that movie. Um, oh, the boy who harnessed the wind, how he went to Malawi and he really researched the country and how he really wanted to make it authentic, and he even learned the language. And I thought, well, that sounds like consume. And
Right.
then it sounded like he was respecting the sensory too, because he's like actually taking in the real facts and making it authentic.
Right.
And so that's kind of where I went wrong on that.
Right. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, and even as you were saying that, it's making me like those type of mistyping, so to speak. It does make me realize that my understanding of the animals or the um, coins, so to speak, all the different binary decisions is very different than Dave and Chan's understanding, right? Because I also typed him as consume, right? And he ended up being blast. So maybe my understanding of what consume is very different than what Dave and Chan's are. So um but okay, really good. I'm really glad that you've been super consistent. I know you've definitely gotten back on that. Um and yeah, I mean typing is hard, but it's great to have you in the class with us. So I think
Yeah.
yeah.
So maybe I want to address some of these comments people have been
Oh,
sending.
sure.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Maybe I'm consumed last because I didn't notice the comments
Yeah.
until now.
Well,
Well, because I had the tab selected on private chat, so then I had to switch over to comments.
yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I
Um,
just
so I
see if there's
mean,
anything to
there are
address.
a few people here. So I think Griff says hi.
Yeah. So I just want to thank. I guess I just want to thank everybody for watching us. I appreciate it. I appreciate that you like my explanations, and the Minnesota accent. Yeah, it's funny because
Yeah.
I don't see myself as having an accent. I see everybody else as having an accent.
Ah, yes, of course. Nice, really good. Yeah, and definitely appreciate you being here,
Oh, and then the
Laura.
last one, I love infodoms because I have less info freakouts around them.
Yes,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's accurate because I think infodoms are more balanced on info and energy doms are more balanced on energy.
right,
So I guess if I'm looking at it from that perspective, then I think I would be more energy dom because I
right.
do feel like I have more imbalance around the info. Of course, I'm a single observer, so that might also make it kind of tricky because single observers also freak out about missing information.
Yes, yeah,
But I think with my energy, I do try to have some time in the day to relax, and then also make sure that I'm getting what needs to be done.
Mhm.
So I don't think I'm on either the Mope extreme or the Tony Robbins extreme.
Right.
Yeah. So
Oh man, yeah, it's really good. Okay, great. So, and then Laura, really appreciate it. So, closing up, I'm just gonna do some like closing notes here. Um, Again, guys, everyone in the chat, everyone watching, really appreciate you guys joining us. So, if you liked what you saw, or if you didn't like it, it's not gonna hurt my feelings or Laura's feelings. Just the
I'm gonna
feedback.
cry
Oh
and
no.
I'm gonna say fuck you and no,
Okay,
I won't
so
do
Laura's
that.
gonna say all that. I will say that behind closed doors, but I do appreciate the feedback. So do whatever you want to do, just like it, but just let me know what's going on to see, if this is something that you guys are valuing. Definitely leave a comment. I read all the comments. If you have any questions, if you have any feedback, feel free to leave a comment. And if it's something that I think is like something I can respond to, I'll definitely respond. Um, Also, and this is I'm not judging you guys, but I know there are some subset of you that skip to the last 10 minutes and you guys just want to skim and skip. one, if you don't understand fully the terminology, I have some links in the description. Laura's also going to share some of her resources. So if you are struggling to understand what's going on, you're just skipping around, please use those links. Get to familiarize yourself with these terms. It's there to help you. Also, one thing I'm actually going to be doing, this is more so an announcement on my end. I'm actually, over time, I'm also going to help you guys out who like to skip. I'm going to start including timestamps for the videos.
Great idea.
That's going to take a little bit of time, but I will go ahead and do that generally by the topic, by what we're talking about. So if you want to just go to a certain topic, you'll be able to click on that. Just give me some time, be patient with me, but I will eventually incorporate that in all of the videos that have been released so far. Okay. Finally, another announcement. I am very interested in hosting a game night specifically for the objective personality community. Primarily, I want to destroy all of you guys in Super Smash Brothers, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that. I just did a poll in the community. There are people who want to play Among Us. There are people who want to play Cards Against Humanity. There are people who want to play, all these other kind of communal games. So I am looking for suggestions on games that you want to play. I since we're doing social distancing and all that, we would most likely kind of find some type of platform like Discord, or we would have multiple channels where we would stream everything, have a chat area, voice area available. So in the comments, or if you're in the Facebook group, please keep me informed as to what you want to see there. And then from there, I'm going to just kind of compile that and then figure out a way to kind of get all that together. I'll release a time when we want to get that done, or I'll ask what times work best for you guys, and we'll slowly build this game night, into existence. Okay. So just be on the lookout for that. There will be updates intermittently, for that. So other than that, I don't think there's anything else. So again, Laura, really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. Everyone, thank you for watching, and I will. New guests coming soon. There's the next episode. There's going to be, some guests coming out that, much like Laura, you guys are really going to want to hear these. So if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe if you like this type of content, so you can get those notifications, because they're coming out. Like, I'm getting new people. So these things are coming out. So thanks again, and I will see you all on the next one. So take care, guys.